I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space.
Well, hi guys, welcome back to F1 Podcast. We've just given you our tips for the upcoming Grand Prix, and now we need to turn our attention to the elephant in the room, I guess, which is Renault and the issues that have been going on with them over the last couple of weeks. There's been a lot of fallout, as we all know. The penalty that they were given, which is a suspended 2-year penalty, do you think that's enough? Do you think it's an FIA sort of, hey, we don't want Renault to go type of penalty? We'd like to hear your thoughts on it, but we're about to give you ours. Pep, what are your thoughts on the whole Renault debacle, I guess we could say?
Yeah, in our last video we talked about what happened, and since that video they've meted out the penalties, Max, and I noticed the first thing was that IMG went running, so the new Renault livery has Renault written all over the car.
Can't blame them.
No.
Really can't blame them. Their sponsorship was to the end of the 09 season. They've sort of said, nah, we're out of here now.
We're gone. Yeah. So that's suspended penalty for the team, Max. I mean, that's the first thing. The second thing is obviously the implications for Flavio Briatore, for Pat, and nothing for Nelson Piquet Jr.
That's right, he got immunity. He was the squealer.
Yeah.
Nothing happening. You say what you want to say, and we're going to give you immunity.
The thing that I have a problem with, Max, is that, you know, in a lot of situations in life and also in sport, if you're told or asked to do something and then you do it, does that mean that you are granted immunity, that you shouldn't actually suffer the consequences? I mean, now we've got a situation where Nelson Piquet Jr. could, I'm not saying he will, but he could get another F1 race seat. And I just think to myself, well, you know, the guy actually did it. He actually was told or instructed to do it, but he did it. And so I think that the fact that he got immunity is wrong, that he's walked away scot-free. I understand that he was given it so that they could get full evidence and full disclosure, but you know, some of the other penalties were pretty harsh. So you know, I think immunity for Nelson Piquet was wrong.
Yeah, he was, as far as I'm concerned, he was complicit. In other words, he agreed to do that, as we know, to try and salvage his career. He was, you know, he was having a tough time in Formula One. I don't think I'm, you know, any Nelson Piquet Jr. fan would disagree with me. He was having a tough time, but he was complicit. In other words, he agreed with what the instruction that was given him. I think it's terrible that Briatore and Simons were also complicit in this sort of thing. I mean, this is not really what our sport needs. And for all of you people that are about to say, oh, you know, stop being holier than thou and all this bullshit. Yeah, we know that cheating happens in any sport, right? You only have to look at athletics for drug doping and all that shit. We all know that, okay? But this is a kid, right? And we've been sort of been talking about, oh, put yourself in his shoes, fledgling F1 career and all this sort of thing. What would you do if your boss said, well, you know, this is what you got to do? If he turned around and said no, would he have been out of a drive? Well, okay, maybe yes, maybe no, but at the end of the day, it goes down to your core value system. Yeah. And we're talking about a kid, right? A young guy who, let's face it, in his junior Formula A, is driven for his father's team. Right? And he, you know, he's done very well. I'm not suggesting that he got preferential treatment or anything, but he's now in the big leagues. And someone has turned around to him, i.e. Briatore and Simons potentially, and has said, right, we need this to happen. Bang, bang, bang.
Now, what about the fact that a lot of commentators have said that Piquet, you know, he's managers Briatore, he's also the team boss. You know, Briatore had too much power, and that Piquet was, you know, unduly affected by that. You know.
All right. Would Mark Webber, for example, who's also managed by Briatore, have turned around and said, "Oh, okay, I'll crash the car." Mark Webber would have turned around and said, "Fuck you, I'm not doing that." And I mean, and it's easy for you guys to turn around and say, oh, but you'd say that because you're Australians and all that sort of thing. It's the way we do things.
Yeah.
It's like, no, forget it.
But Mark Webber, Briatore is also the Renault team manager, so you've got the boss of the team who's also the boss of you saying to do this. Mark Webber's boss is not Briatore, he's just the team manager. So there was a couple of articles I read that said that Flavio Briatore just had way too much power. He was running the team, he was running Nelson. He shouldn't have. They should have a division of power or whatever, so that one person doesn't have that much power. Now, of course, we've got the situation where Flavio's been, as Martin Brundle said, deleted from the sport. The guy is no longer allowed to be in any FAA sanctioned sport, and unless he starts up his own situation, then he's gone from motorsport, Max. Do you think a life ban is appropriate for Flavio Briatore?
Yeah, he was a cheat. He's been found out being a cheat. But the other thing I will go back to, and I think we've discussed this in the past, Pip, is that it's taken a year for Piquet Jr. to turn around and go, oh, sorry, I was told to crash. Sorry? If you had any scruples or anything like that, if you had any intestinal fortitude, you ought to turn around to Mr. Briatore, as you call him, and etc., and say, look, Flavio, I know I'm on the, I know you're not happy with me and all that sort of thing, but I'm sorry. And if it means me losing my role, I'm sorry, I cannot do that.
Yeah.
I cannot crash my car for whatever reason. Damage to myself, damage to another driver. What would have happened if another driver had come around that corner at speed and hit the Kevlar everywhere and gone off? And all of you might say, oh, but the safety car was out, so they couldn't have gone off at speed. What would have happened if there was someone that was on, at a decent pace,
and a bit of car went into the crowd?
Bang, gone. I'm sorry, this guy is, 23? So he's a man, a young man, admittedly.
Yeah, but he's still got the ability to make his own decisions.
Right.
He's not some
This is the
kid.
thing.
Yeah.
And this is not necessarily an attack on Nelsinho Jr. It's a case of having the intestinal fortitude, the guts to turn around to your boss and say, look, I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to do that. And if it means me not driving for you anymore, fine. And I asked the question, if this had all come out, that Nelsinho was asked to put his car into the wall, and he didn't do that, and he lost his drive at Renault, and this all came out in the wash, whether another team would turn around and say, you know what, he didn't put his car in the wall, he was asked to, let's say something else happened, he didn't do that, good on him. You've got gut. You stood up to Flavio Briatore.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, but I'm disappointed for Nelsinho. I'm gutted. I'm a Renault fan, always have been. I'm an Alonso fan, and I love Flav, but he fucked it this time.
Yeah, he did. Alright guys, let us know what you think, and we'll see you soon for the next video.
Alright guys, bye.
Bye.
I just knew too much.